are 5 things we love and 5 things we hate about the 2024 Polaris RZR Turbo R4 Ultimate. The Pro R may have grabbed all the headlines a couple years back, but the Turbo R still holds a special place in our hearts. With 181 horsepower from a 1-liter turbocharged twin, this thing is a riot. In an Ultimate trim, it comes with everything you could ask for. Let's get started with the first thing we love, this suspension. It's the Fox 3.0 live valve internal bypass shocks married to Polaris's excellent Dynamix DV selectable drive modes. If you think active suspension is a gimmick, spend 5 seconds behind the wheel of this thing. This kit is wild. It samples the terrain 1 billion times a second to make sure all 4 wheels are planted at all times. From a dig, you can feel the suspension working to keep all the power down. Once you're up to speed, everything levels out. It feels like a speedboat coming up on plane. It's wild. Shocks aside, the Turbo R is wildly capable. Polaris says it has an amazing 27 inches of usable wheel travel, which is great out here in super technical terrain. The second thing we love about the 2024 Polaris RZR Turbo R4 Ultimate is, and you've heard it before, Ride Command. There isn't a better navigation and infotainment system on the market, full stop. Planning routes, tracking your buddies, communicating with other riders, it's all crazy easy. The menus are well thought out, super easy to use, and pairing your phone takes seconds. It's great, and we wish every other manufacturer had a system this nice. The third thing we love about this machine is, of course, the engine. Like we said earlier, the Pro R gets all the attention, but this turbo twin is a star. And weirdly, it feels rowdier than the Pro R. Part of that is how the turbo comes on. You get this big swell of power, you can hear the wastegate go off. There is no mistaking that this is a turbo. Do we miss the extra power from the Pro R? Not around here. There really aren't too many places to stretch the legs of a machine like this. You know, 181 horsepower, 225 horsepower, it doesn't really matter. Out here, it is more than enough. We can see needing the extra grunt from the Pro R maybe out west if you're ripping around the dunes. Out there, you gotta go full gallop for hours on end, but out here, Turbo R is more than enough. The fourth thing we love about the Turbo R Ultimate is the back seats. Look, we're all drivers here, but if you're buying a 4-door, you want enough space for all of your buddies, not just a bunch of kids. Nobody wants to spend a ride with your knees crammed into the front seats. Fortunately, the Turbo R has plenty of room. I'm about 5'11" and I can sit back there all day long. There is that much room. And it's not just how much leg room there is. There's stadium seating, which means the people in the back seat can see over the heads of the people in the front seat, which is huge. That keeps car sickness at bay, and it makes it for a way more entertaining ride than if you're sitting down way low. And the big grab bar means I can stay planted. I can use my arms to hold myself in place, even if the machine's going all over the place. That really reduces fatigue. It means I'm not relying on my core to stay in place. That's huge. The fifth thing we love about the Turbo R Ultimate, these tires. Polaris ships this rig with 32-inch Maxxis Rampage tires. They're excellent. They're wrapped around 15-inch aluminum wheels. That is a great combination for a sport rig. It offers a good balance of speed for wide open running and also plenty of sidewall for technical riding. All that sidewall, it's great for ride comfort, but it also means that you can air down if you're out in the sand. And of course, a 32-inch diameter means you've got plenty of rolling diameter to overcome big steps, big rocks with no problem. We know plenty of guys who like a bigger wheel though, just for the style of the thing. What do you guys think? Do you think Polaris should ship this thing with a 16 or even a 17? Let us know down in the comments. Look, there are plenty more things that we love about the Turbo R, but we gotta get moving. Let's talk about the 5 things we hate about this rig. Starting with, you guessed it, the transmission, or more specifically, the shift lever. Look, we have no problem with a good CVT. Unfortunately, the Turbo R is stuck with the old Polaris hardware, and that means this shift lever feels like a broomstick stuck in a bucket of mud. That's not okay for a $40,000 rig. It's vague. It can be hard to shift. And that really sticks out when the rest of the rig is this good. All of that is frustrating because we've seen what Polaris is capable of. The Ranger XD 1500 has an amazing transmission. Seriously, you can shift it with 2 fingers. You're not doing that with this rig. And if you can do it on a work rig, Polaris, you can do it on this Turbo R. The second thing I hate about the Turbo R Ultimate, and I'm gonna get nitpicky here, no beadlocks on this rig. This rig will cost you every bit of $40,000 by the time you get it home. And if Kawasaki can put beadlocks on the KRX, Polaris can put it on this rig. Look, they're big and they're heavy and they're expensive, but they open up a lot of capability. You can run way lower air pressures, which is huge in the sand. The third thing we hate, and we're gonna stay nitpicky here, we love Ride Command. The screen is starting to show its age. Compare this little guy to the huge 10-inch screen on the Can-Am Maverick R, or the sneak photos that we've seen of the new Kawasaki Ridge and you realize this is pretty small. The graphics are okay, the rear backup camera fidelity, not so great, and that's tough when the software is this good. The fourth thing we hate about the Turbo R4 Ultimate is the lack of obvious tie downs. Yeah, that's a minor thing, but we got really spoiled by the Razor XP1000 with its integrated toe loops. Makes it really obvious where to tie this thing down, makes it super secure on a trailer. And a lot like the shifter, since we know Polaris can do better, we want it on this rig. The fifth thing that we hate about this machine, and it's not specific to the Turbo R4 Ultimate, the door handles. I know Polaris has been using the same interior release since the dawn of time, and that's fine on a two-seat rig where it's just you, or it's just your spouse, or it's just you and a buddy who's in the rig all the time. But a four-seater means you're gonna be taking around a bunch of people who aren't necessarily familiar with your rig. I don't know how many times I've had to explain how to open the rear door to a passenger, and look, that just shouldn't be a thing. I shouldn't have to explain to people how to open the door to a rig. So like on all Razors, you get suicide doors. That's different to begin with. It's different from a car or a Jeep or anything else. Then you've got to feel around for where the door latch is. It's this handy thing. That's not super obvious either. Again, not a big deal if you've done it a billion times, but if you're new to riding, and hey, a lot of people who are riding in the back are, it's gonna be a pain. Yeah, obviously those are some very small things to whine about, and they're small because, hey, we love this machine. It's excellent, but the misses really stand out. So all that said, who is this rig for? This machine's for somebody who isn't big on compromises. You wanna be able to go flat out anywhere, you wanna be able to hit any trail you can, and you wanna be able to take a bunch of passengers with you. It's also for the experienced driver, and that's partly because the Turbo R4 Ultimate doesn't feel as neutral as the Pro R. It's a saucier rig. It wants to slide, it wants to pivot, it feels like it has a much more rearward weight bias. And look, that's a ton of fun for people like us who have spent a lot of time behind the wheel, but if you're new to side-by-sides and you're new to sport side-by-sides in particular, it's gonna be a handful. Finally, this machine is definitely for people who may need to adhere to local laws that restrict side-by-sides to under a liter. This rig's 925cc mill easily flies under that benchmark, whereas the Pro R's big 2-liter definitely won't. That's been 5 things we love and 5 things we hate about the 2024 Razor Pro R4 Ultimate. If you like what you saw, check us out at utvdriver.com. We got reviews, news, buyer's guides, all that fun stuff. We'll see you there. Ooh, there's a turtle on here. There's a favorite animal, turtle.